केड़ा काबू नी हुसन ते पावे दिल सीने तो निकलदा जावे बत्ती बोर बिलो दो नैन काले मुंडे मार दे निशाने तू।
आप web3 में काम करते हैं तो कृपया ये वीडियो ना देखें, लेकिन इनको डेप्थ ऑफ टेक तो बिल्कुल नहीं। पहले पंप करो फिर डंप करो। ये सारे मार्केटर्स हैं और सारे के सारे वही स्कैम फैला रहे हैं और छोटे बच्चों को फंसा रहे हैं। शर्म नहीं आती?
निशाने तू टिका ले ओ अखी ना तू पुत जटदा ओ अखी ना तू।
Hi everyone, in today's video we'll be discussing one, why I chose to become a Web3 developer and why I've been very bullish on the space, and two, the videos that Tanay sir has put out, who is someone I have a lot of respect for, why they're sort of wrong, and most of the points that he has against the space, especially in this video or the two videos that he has released are purely wrong. There are a lot of bad things about the Web3 space, but specifically every point that he's talking about seems like a naive attempt by someone who's not worked in the space. So I'll try to break down why those are wrong. And I'm not trying to promote a specific space here or trying to stir up any sort of controversy. I just feel like you as a student should be able to have an informed decision around whether or not you want to join the space. And I feel that a lot of his opinions are extremely harsh towards the space. So I'll be taking a step back and discussing why all the things that he's saying are wrong and why I, amongst the 1,000 things that I could have done after my last job, ended up choosing the Web3 space and going all in on it. With that, let's get right into the video. So I'm going to skip through this video. I'll link both of them in the description. I'll basically be going through all the points that I feel are wrong and try to give you my opinion on it.
पहला और सबसे important reason ये है कि ये developer friendly नहीं है.
So I'm very happy that this is the most important reason because this is a very small reason and probably not a reason at all. Any framework, language, industry that comes up, it will not be developer friendly initially. Back in 2004, जब Facebook बना था, React did not exist as a framework. HTML, CSS, JavaScript is all they had. Basic databases is what they had. And उन्होंने literally server के ऊपर server बिठाया था. AWS नहीं होता था उस time पे. And that's how they got started. उस time पे अगर वो ऐसा सोचते कि developer experience बहुत बुरा है, कोई distributed database नहीं है जो इतने लोगों को संभाल पाए, वो लोग literally एक college को एक database देते थे, दूसरे college को दूसरा database दे देते थे. They scrambled just to keep the website up. एंड उस टाइम पे कोई फ्रेमवर्क एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता था. इनफैक्ट इट वॉज फेसबुक विच इन अ फ्यू ईयर्स रियलाइज्ड दैट फ्रंट एंड डेवलपमेंट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट and React was built out of Facebook as a framework. And who do you think is smarter today? The thousands of developers who've learned React as a framework and are building websites, or the people who wrote the code of React? So if I was you, I would think of this as an opportunity. Yes, the developer experience is very bad. And the reason for that is, one, there aren't a lot of people in this space. Two, the space is very new. And the people that are in here are not really worried about developer experience. They're very busy building scalable blockchains. So this gives you an opportunity to come into the space and help the space out by building developer friendly tools. Keep the money aside for a moment. Keep the fact that there is weird, dumb money, pump and dump. Just throw that out the window. And for once, think of this as an opportunity. There are smart people in this space and there's so much opportunity to build frameworks that will make the developer experience easier. Why would you not want to be the person who does that?
देखो, जब कोई भी प्लेटफॉर्म, कोई भी लाइब्रेरी, कोई भी फ्रेमवर्क बढ़ता है, जैसे कि एक लगा, तो आपका पूरा समय कितना बचा? 1 घंटा. जब आपका टाइम बचता है, जब चीज़ें फास्ट होती हैं, जब चीज़ें बेटर होती हैं, जब आसान लगता है सोचने में आपको कोई चीज़, तो आपका एक्सपीरियंस बेटर हो जाता है. जैसे यूजर का एक्सपीरियंस होता है, वैसे डेवलपर का एक्सपीरियंस होता है. Web3 का डेवलपर एक्सपीरियंस कतई घटिया है भाई.
I think I've covered this.
मैंने ट्वीट भी किया था कि यार तुम लोग कैसे वेबसाइट डेवलप करते हो जब तुम कोई बग को फिक्स नहीं कर सकते हो. प्रोग्राम हो जाता है लॉक, उसमें आप डेटा नहीं हटा सकते, उसमें आप कोड नहीं चेंज कर सकते. तो
ये जिस तरीके से दिखाई गई इस वीडियो में इतनी नेगेटिव चीज़, हाँ, देयर वाज अ केस वेयर डेवलपर्स ने कोड लिखा, एक जगह डिप्लॉय किया एंड उसमें $34 मिलियन फंस रखा है क्योंकि जिस तरीके से वो कोड लिखा था वो बगी था एंड उस कोड को तुम बदल नहीं सकते. But there's a reason why you can't change that code. Let's compare this to a bank. Let's say there's a bank, HDFC Bank. उसकी वेबसाइट पे तुम जाते हो, netbanking.hdfcbank.com. You make a transfer, you send someone money. HDFC has servers in India जहाँ पे ये transaction तुम भेजते हो and their servers make sure कि हाँ तुम्हारे अकाउंट से वो माइनस हो जाए, दूसरे अकाउंट में वो प्लस हो जाए, डेटाबेस में ऐसी 2 एंट्रीज हो जाए. And you sort of trust them to do it. And if there is a bug ever there, you know the government will step in and they will sort of sort things out. तुम्हें तुम्हारा पैसा वापस मिल जाएगा. That cannot happen in the Web3 space. Bitcoin, the first thing that introduced this concept of cryptocurrencies and decentralized money, was built so that you don't have to trust anyone. You don't have to trust someone like hdfcbank.com. To achieve that, you need to make sure जो भी program deployed है, ये program सब देख सकते हैं. तो unlike netbanking.hdfcbank.com जहाँ पे तुम्हें कुछ नहीं दिख रहा, you're just trusting the government कि हाँ अगर कुछ मेरे बैलेंस में 500 रुपये भी कम हो तो गवर्नमेंट आके उसको फिक्स करेगी. That does not happen in blockchains. That does not happen on Ethereum, the specific blockchain that this happened on. तो they have to make sure कि अगर कोई कोड वहाँ लिखा गया है तो उसको कोई बदल नहीं सकता. अगर उसको कोई बदल सकता तो जो भी उसका प्रोग्रामर होगा वो उस कोड को बदलेगा और सारा पैसा ले जाएगा. और यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट बीच में नहीं आएगी क्योंकि किसी को नहीं पता वो बंदा पैसा जो लेके गया है वो कौन है. Hence, you have to make sure that the program is not upgradable. अब इस केस में ऐसा हुआ कि वो जो प्रोग्राम था वो बगी था तो पैसा वहाँ पे अटक गया. But these are teething pains. These will come. And yes, this is a huge loss. But the space is mature enough to take these losses. And the pros outweigh the cons here. Yes, इस केस में बहुत बुरा प्रोग्राम लिखा गया था. And this is how people will either build better frameworks to deploy safe contracts जो अपग्रेड ना किए जाएं बट अगर ऐसे बग्स आए तो उनको फिक्स हो. So this is sort of what you can do when you join the space and sort of find fixes for edge cases like these which will pop up initially when the space is growing. So those are my 2 cents.
Web3 क्या है? Web3 essentially एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है. कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लिखने का काम किसका होता है? कॉन्ट्रैक्ट लिखने का काम होता है लॉयर्स का.
ये चीज़ तो एकदम ही गलत है. देयर इज़ अ टर्म कॉल्ड स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स. तो जब तुम स्विगी पे जाते हो एंड यू सॉर्ट ऑफ मेक एन ऑर्डर, तुम्हारा रिक्वेस्ट एक सर्वर पे जाती है जो स्विगी का सेंट्रल सर्वर होता है जहाँ पे वो डेटाबेस में एंट्री डालते हैं और ड्राइवर असाइन करते हैं, नोटिफाई करते हैं, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. Web3 applications are similar. You can build a sort of decentralized Swiggy if you want to. And उस केस में the code that you write, which is called a smart contract, isn't something that lawyers need to look into or even understand. Usually the contracts that are written right now, the biggest use case is in decentralized finance, which is why a lot of these contracts are money related. For example, how do you exchange money? How do you loan out money to someone else? बट उनका लॉयर से दूर दूर तक कोई लेना नहीं है. लॉयर्स का काम होता है लॉ को अवॉइड करना. उनको नहीं समझ आती मैथ्स या हाउ यू कैन क्रिएट अ लैंडिंग प्रोटोकॉल एंड मेक श्योर उसमें कभी कोई इशू ना हो कि किसी ने पैसा सबमिट किया है एक ब्लॉकचेन में तो देयर इज इनफ कोलैटरल फॉर देम टू गेट लिक्विडेटेड इन केस दे डिफॉल्ट ऑन देयर लोन्स. तो इसमें लॉयर का कोई दूर दूर तक लेना नहीं है. किसी भी लॉयर को कभी कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट समझ नहीं आएगा. दिस इज द जॉब ऑफ अ प्रोग्रामर. जस्ट बिकॉज इट्स कॉल्ड अ स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट उसको बहुत अजीब तरीके से ट्विस्ट कर दिया गया यहाँ. यू कैन कॉल इट अ प्रोग्राम एज वेल. एंड दिस इज सॉर्ट ऑफ वन ऑफ द बिग problems that I have with this video is it feels like not enough research has been done and ऊपर से the space is being defamed for no reason at all. I don't know if this is something personal or it's very obvious that not a lot of research has been done while making this video.
दूसरी बात मैं बताता हूँ आपको यार एक Web3 ऐप डिप्लॉय करने के लिए पैसे लगते हैं. तुम बोलोगे कि फ्री वाले भी हैं पोस्ट कर सकते हो. हाँ कर सकते हैं, फ्री वाले भी हैं, लेकिन इंटरेक्शंस के पैसे लगते हैं. मतलब मैंने एक ऐप बनाया उस
हाँ ये चीज़ सच है. मोस्ट ब्लॉकचेन्स देखो यार, तुम अगर फेसबुक यूज़ कर रहे हो तो कोई वहाँ फेसबुक का सर्वर है. फेसबुक इज स्पेंडिंग मनी टू स्टोर योर डेटा समवेयर. दे वोंट डू इट फॉर फ्री. इवेंचुअली देर अ प्रॉफिटेबल कंपनी. दे वॉन्ट टू मेक मनी एंड द वे दे मेक मनी इज दे सेल योर डेटा. यूट्यूब डज समथिंग सिमिलर. तुम्हें एड्स दिखती है बेस्ड ऑन योर रिकमेंडेशंस एंड दैट इज़ हाउ दे मेक मनी. तो फ्री में कोई भी वेब एप्लीकेशन तुम्हें कुछ नहीं देती. एंड तुमने धीरे धीरे नोटिस किया होगा देयर इज़ अ ट्रेंड दैट पीपल हैव स्टार्टेड बाइंग यूट्यूब प्रीमियम इवन इन इंडिया, जो कि कंसिडर किया जाता है एज अ कंट्री जहाँ पे लोग बिल्कुल किसी चीज़ के पैसे नहीं देना चाहते. एंड दैट इज जस्ट बिकॉज द अदर वे दैट गूगल इज मेकिंग मनी विच इज एड्स इज एक्सट्रीमली इरिटेटिंग टू देम. व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर, व्हाट ही इज डिस्क्राइबिंग हियर इज समथिंग सिमिलर. अ Web3 एप्लीकेशन अगर वो डिप्लॉय हो रही है तो देर आर अ लॉट ऑफ नोड्स दैट आर रनिंग एंड एनी टाइम यू क्लिक ऑन अ लाइक बटन all of these machines are sort of agreeing on the fact that तुमने इस पर क्लिक किया है या इसको लाइक किया है. Since those machines are spending that effort, they need to be incentivized some way, which in case of blockchains is through some token transfer, and hence yes you have to pay money for every interaction, but you're anyways doing that when you're watching YouTube, Facebook, only it happens in a very subtle manner. And yes, हर लाइक पे पैसे देना might feel weird or sort of a paradigm shift around how we interact with web applications, but it's no different from how you currently interact with web applications, only you pay in different ways.
पे किसी ने कमेंट किया उसको पैसे लगेंगे, उसको गैस भी बोलते हैं भाई. अट्टा तो और मुसीबत. तो वाह ये तो बहुत बढ़िया है. तो ये बिगिनर फ्रेंडली भी नहीं है, ना ये डेवलपर फ्रेंडली है, ना ये बिगिनर फ्रेंडली है.
That is true. Developer friendly नहीं है, beginner friendly नहीं है. That's every framework when it starts, so there's nothing new here.
ऐसी चीज़ों का कोई फ्यूचर नहीं होता जो बिगिनर फ्रेंडली और डेवलपर फ्रेंडली नहीं होती हैं इन
everything that starts is not developer friendly or beginner friendly. मतलब वैसे तो फिर किसी चीज़ का फ्यूचर नहीं है, मतलब ये तो बहुत अच्छी पॉइंट है.
डेवलपर वर्ल्ड 10 साल कोई भी समझदार टेक लीड इसमें घुसना नहीं चाह रहा है.
I was a tech lead in my last company. या तो मैं समझदार नहीं हूँ फिर, या फिर मैं tech lead नहीं था पिछले कंपनी में, मुझे नहीं पता.
सीनियर्स इसमें घुसना नहीं चाह रहे क्योंकि उन्हें भी पता है कि ये बस एक स्कैम है और बहुत बड़ा सरदर्द है इस स्कैम के साथ.
I think the definition of senior here is very weird. And I have a video where the founder of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, sort of was asked a similar question, and I think his response is very apt here. Let me just play that.
See, it's not a niche thing. It does tend to skew towards a younger audience, and so sometimes people who grew up and their whole career was in traditional financial services, it's hard for them to, this is the innovator's dilemma, right? If people are familiar with the Clay Christensen book, it's hard for them to see this new thing coming along and seeing what the disruptive potential of it would be. And there's sometimes a little bit of blindness that happens with that. But nevertheless, the change is happening and more people are using crypto through every cycle that happens.
What he mentions here is the innovator's dilemma, which if you've worked in the industry, let's say you worked at Microsoft for 10 years and you've been working using ASP.NET and तुम्हें वही चीज़ आती है, then yes, you won't make that switch. You won't put in the effort, या तुम्हारी फटेगी थोड़ी. मतलब मेरी भी, अगर मैं भी ट्रेडिशनल जॉब एक जगह करता हूँ और मुझे वो चीज़ बहुत अच्छे से आती है, आई एम सॉर्ट ऑफ लीडिंग टेक एट अ कंपनी एट अ टीम इन माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एंड आई एम वेरी गुड एट ASP.NET एंड देन समवन टेल्स मी ब्रो ब्लॉकचेन बहुत बढ़िया है, इधर आओ रस्ट में काम करना पड़ेगा. तो मुझे वो यार मैं सीनियर लेवल बंदा हूँ, मेरे को 10-12 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है, मैं ये नई फील्ड में, एक तो ऑलरेडी थोड़ी स्पेकुलेटिव है, ऊपर से मुझे यहाँ के एकदम नीचे से स्टार्ट करके सीखना पड़ेगा. तो आई वोंट take that leap of faith. Specifically saying senior people don't move into this field, I think the definition of senior is very weird. Vitalik, who's the founder of Ethereum, was very young, I think 19 when he wrote the code of Ethereum, and that just comes to tell you that yes, in this field, age is not really a number. It's your expertise and how willing you are to sort of contribute to the space. That matters much more than how many years of experience that you have, which I think is what he's talking about here. People with 20 years of experience are not moving to this space, which also isn't completely true. A lot of very smart people who've been in the industry for a lot of years work in this space. They don't come out because the space is very niche, but that doesn't mean senior people don't work in this industry. I think Tanay has met a very small subset of people in Web3. There are dumb companies out there who've raised a lot of money, and a lot of times it might happen that there are young co-founders who basically don't have any idea what they're doing. They just raised a lot of money and hence are trying to build applications that no one wants to use. But at the same time, there are very strong projects out there that are being built by extremely technically strong people. So I think this is just an oversight on his part when he's done his research. A lot of senior people work in this industry.
और जो तुम सैलरी की बात सोचते हो, जो पैसे की बात सोचते हो, वो बहुत इन्फ्लेटेड है. ठीक है, 4 साल में तुम बहुत सारा पैसा बनाओगे, अरे 4 साल Web3 का फैट रहेगा ही नहीं. ये तो पंप एंड डंप की दुनिया है.
So a few points here. This whole concept of salaries being distributed over 4 years, ESOPs being distributed over 4 years is very common in tech, happens everywhere. Microsoft is famous for having an inflated CTC of 40 lakhs when they only pay a base salary of 12 and the rest of the money is stocks that's distributed over 4 years. So this isn't new in the tech industry. If you replace Microsoft with a startup that's giving you cash and some equity that's vested over 4 years, it's basically the same thing. Yes, tokens are a little more speculative. It's hard to know the tokenomics behind it. A lot of companies inflate the values of these tokens, but this concept of ESOPs being distributed over 4 years is nothing new. It's very common. It's just being put out in a very bad light in this video. Also, pump and dump and 4 साल में industry खत्म हो जाएगी is again a very weird statement considering like Bitcoin has been around for a really long time. There have been bull runs, there have been bear runs. There are always hype cycles and a lot of dumb money flows into the space, but it gets shed out very quickly in depressions similar to the one we are currently in. If you look at a long-term horizon, 5 to 10 years, the space is going up. There are a lot of reasons for it. There are tokenomics behind good blue chip tokens. So if you look at a long enough time horizon, if you're in the right project, your tokens or your salary that's coming in the portion of tokens might end up retaining value, might end up increasing in value. It could go down to 0, but वो startups में भी होता है. If you're in a startup, the probability of your ESOPs going down to 0 is very high. It's 9 out of 10. Hence, it's no different than any other startup that could fail.
तुम्हारे पैसे को लॉक कर दिया जाता है तो बट तुम हो नहीं पाते. इसीलिए तुम देखते हो कि इसमें सीनियर लोग नहीं घुसते. तुम देखोगे कि बहुत कम सीनियर सिंसियर डेवलपर्स Web3 की दुनिया में घुसे हैं. ये सारे मार्केटर्स हैं और सारे नहीं आती. मैं मैंने ये बात कई बार कही, अगर आज तुम्हें सेल्स करने के लिए ज़्यादा पैसे मिलने लगे, अगर तुम्हें लोगों को फ़ोन कॉल करके
I think that's pretty much the video. I also agree with this point. अगर तुम्हें सेल्स या फ़ोन कॉल करने ज़्यादा पैसे मिल रहे हैं, still choose software development as a career. Eventually you'll make more money. And I think that brings us pretty much to the end of this video. There are a bunch of other videos that Sir has made on similar topics like on Web3, and I feel again there is lack of depth in how much he understands the space, which is where all of this is coming from. And hopefully this video changes his opinion. I'm happy to talk with him in person as well. Again, as I said, the purpose of this video is not to stir up any controversy. And I promise in the starting of the video, okay, I'll share why I chose Web3 as a space to dive deeper into. So there are a few reasons. The first ever blockchain that was introduced, or like blockchain that's being used today, was Bitcoin. And there were a lot of reasons why Bitcoin was introduced. It was right after the 2008 financial crisis. And the purpose was to build a currency that's decentralized. Over the past 2 to 3 years, there's a lot of money printing that's happened in the US. And without getting too deep into it, which I can in a video if you guys want me to, but the dollar is no longer backed by anything substantial. There was a time where the dollar was backed by dollar. तो तुम्हारे पास अगर $1 था, तुम गवर्नमेंट को देते तो गवर्नमेंट उसके बदले में तुम्हें कुछ गोल्ड दे देती. एंड इट वाज ऑलवेज पेग्ड. तो तुम्हारे डॉलर की एक्चुअली कुछ इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू थी, एज लॉन्ग एज पीपल फेल्ट गोल्ड की कुछ वैल्यू है. बट दैट चेंज्ड वेरी क्विकली 1970s 1980s में जाके, व्हेन the government realized that US dollar is very powerful, and they stopped pegging it to anything substantial, which was gold back then. During the COVID crisis, a lot of dollars were printed, and hence this thing that we have in our banks, this number that we see everywhere, that we feel represents our net worth, isn't really something you own. And this is a very doomsday kind of an opinion. Most probably in our lifetimes, hopefully, our currency, INR, USD, have some value and things remain as they are. But this whole concept of a currency is extremely flawed, and this was basically one of the reasons that made me understand the space better, and decentralized finance is one of the things that I'm most interested in. And yeah, that's pretty much why I sort of made the move full time. I was very happy with my last job as well, and this is the reason that I gave to my manager as well. This is one of the best companies I've worked for, and they were paying really well as well. But over the past 1 year, I realized there's a lot to be done in this space. The developer experience, as Tanay sir said, is pretty bad. And it's people like us who will make that change. And I basically wanted to be part of that journey. So that's my 2 cents. Like this video if you liked it. If you did not like it, feel free to dislike as well. If you guys really want to learn development, the purpose of this channel is to grab as many people who are wanting to get into tech, and usually that means working on simpler problems and making simpler videos on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React. But if I feel there's a lot of demand for Web3, if you guys want to learn what I do on a day-to-day basis, let me know in the comments, either on this channel, or I'll start a new channel where I start teaching Web3 development. So that's basically on to you guys now. So with that, let's end the video. And if I was out of line at any point, I do apologize. The purpose of this video was to show the other side of Web3 by someone who's actually working in this space. So hopefully that purpose was served. And I'm happy to talk more about this in a podcast or future videos. So with that, let's end the video. I'll see you in the next one.